From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN Noon News.
And good afternoon. Thanks for joining us on your MTN statewide news on this Thursday. I'm Andrea Lutz. New today, the UN General Assembly is holding a special meeting to discuss the global response to COVID-19. Nearly 100 world leaders and dozens of ministers will speak virtually about the best path to recovery. The two-day session will be meant for talking, but there will be no fundraising for vaccines or plans for political action. President Trump will not be taking part in the discussion. The U.S. will instead be represented by the Health and Human Services Secretary. The country's top infectious disease specialist, Dr. Anthony Fauci, says Americans refusing to wear masks in public need to check the facts surrounding the virus. He weighed in on the COVID-19 pandemic in the Treasure State in a special MTN interview. While hundreds of Montanans have died from the virus, Fauci says his main concern lies in states' hospitals. Right now, roughly 500 people are hospitalized in Montana.
You know, I don't want to accuse them or in any manner or form be pejorative to them, but I would ask them and almost plead with them to look at the data. We have 267,000 deaths and close to 14 million infections in this country. That if you have a state like Montana, which doesn't have a lot, you have Billings, which has the major medical center there. You have about 25 ICU beds in that hospital. The last time we checked, you had more ICU patients than you had IC beds for them. That's a problem.
You can find the entire MTN interview with Dr. Fauci online. The first shipment of COVID-19 vaccines could find their way to Montana as early as December 15th. Governor Steve Bullock says the first batch will be distributed to about 40,000 plus healthcare workers in the state, and it could take months before it's available to the general public.
Well, we don't know the exact number. We expect, or have been told, about 9,750 doses of the Pfizer vaccine. And then we'll likely be receiving several thousand more doses in subsequent weeks.
And the governor also announced the state will spend all $1.5 billion in federal CARES Act funding before the year's deadline is up. More than half went to grant programs focused on business stabilization. Montana's top two Republican officials are still not acknowledging that Democrat Joe Biden has won the presidential election, both saying it's not settled and that litigation is ongoing. Nearly 40 states have certified election results, and although lawsuits have failed, Trump continues to claim he won the election. Republican Senator Steve Daines and Representative Greg Gianforte both issued statements saying the election is not settled, litigation is ongoing, and that Electoral College doesn't even vote until December 14th. Meanwhile, Democrat Jon Tester calls Trump's attacks on the election dangerous. All right, it is now time to check in on that statewide weather forecast with our Ed McIntosh. Hi, Ed.
Hey, good afternoon, Andrea. As temperatures are going to be warmer than average across the western portion of the country, especially here through Montana and northern Wyoming, and then across most of the western portion of the country and the northern portion of the United States as well. But starting about the middle of next week, we're going to have cooler than average temperatures that'll start to settle in, especially about this time next week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday onward. And at the same time, western Montana could remain fairly dry. We'll be watching for wetter than average conditions across the eastern plains. We'll break down that short-term forecast and show you what to expect for the weekend coming up in just a few minutes.
A late Monday night shooting in Billings is now being investigated as a homicide, and an autopsy on the victim, 30-year-old Manuel J. Martinez, reveals he suffered from multiple gunshot wounds to his torso. Martinez was shot on the 500 block of Broadwater Avenue and then run over by a passing vehicle. Police say no arrests have been made and the driver is not believed to be related to the shooting. American Airlines may be the first to start selling passenger tickets for the Boeing 737 MAX jets again. The planes were just approved by the FAA to begin flying with software updates. They've been grounded since last year when two crashes killed hundreds of people. Well, since the federal approval, American Airlines took the jets out of storage. The airline now hopes to put passengers on the MAX jets by the 29th of December. That would include once-a-day round trips between New York and Miami. A new Montana ruling with the goal of reducing lead in drinking water at schools may be difficult for some schools to follow. Well, those schools under OPI have to test water from every fixture that provides drinking water to students. That's a lot of faucets, a lot of fixtures, and they all have to meet new standards. Studies show lead is higher in older schools, and as you may know, across Montana, the average age of a school facility about 53 years old. For most schools, fixing all of that plumbing is not going to be cheap.
Especially in elementary schools where you have a sink that you could possibly get drinking water from and a drinking fountain. So you could have, conceivably 2 fixtures for every classroom, plus your restrooms, plus your kitchen. At the end of the day, the districts are going to be liable to go in and replace fixtures, redo plumbing.
Well, the OPI and DEQ have a grant program to provide about $1,000 per school, but some districts could still be liable to pay millions to meet those new standards. In Missoula County, officials at the county clerk's office are trying to catch up on processing license plate registrations after months of transaction backlogs. Because of the COVID restrictions, the public not allowed inside the clerk's office, vehicle registration and title transactions were conducted online. The Missoula County clerk says this year they're backed up about 4 to 6 weeks, and people have to fill out that online application to process a title, which normally was done in person. Since so many applications come in at the same time, the office is still processing from October, and that requires using one sophomore platform. It takes 4, they say, so they're hoping to combine those steps to speed up the process.
Improving our services going forward. I think the online services are something we're really going to strive to keep. But in order for us to do that, we have to somehow make that more efficient as well. And I think that's what this new software will do for us.
All right. And of course, the officials at the clerk's office say that the best time to actually get in for your vehicle is in the afternoon sometime. So something to think about. United Way of Missoula has organized a special holiday donation project to help support healthcare workers. Hope for Healthcare Heroes matches every $30 gift card donation with an extra $30 from the United Way. It's a way to support local healthcare workers during the pandemic, which of course has put stress on everyone in the industry. While local providers are thankful for the fundraiser, they still, though, say they ask for one gift for Christmas.
What healthcare workers told us they want most for the holidays is for Missoulians to wear masks, practice social distancing, and stay home when possible to keep our community safe and to keep our healthcare workers safe.
And the program will match up to $15,000 in donations. It's all made possible by a $10,000 grant from the Dennis and Phyllis Washington Foundation. We do have more news ahead on the new news, including this: a young Montanan getting the celebration of a lifetime after beating one of the hardest life challenges. We're going to have that story coming up. But first, Ed is back in with a look at that statewide weather forecast.